There's a story time that happened in 2nd grade. So my teacher never allowed fidget spinners, and my friend always brought one to school because that was the only thing that helped us focus. But she said she was. So me and my friend, I'm gonna call her Jalen, and my other friend, I'm gonna name her Caitlin. So me, Jalen, and Caitlin all had this plan to sneak into school and take our fidget spinners. So at recess, we had this plan spot behind the tree, and we would all talk about it. This girl even didn't eat her lunch because her teacher took away her fidget spinner. Anyway, we all had this plan to sneak in school and break the windows, go in class and steal all our fidget spinners and give them back to the owners. But every time we talk about it, we'd get caught by this one kid named Nathan, and he would all go tell the teacher. But the teacher didn't care, obviously, because she knew we weren't going to do it.
So today in English class, our English teacher was going through the rules again, just because I guess like some people were forgetting them or like breaking the rules. So anyway, she was like, just to remind you guys, there's no food in class, no talking to your neighbor without permission, and if I catch you with your phones, then you're gonna have to have it taken away and your parents are gonna have to come get it. And when she said that part about the phones, this kid raised his hand, and he's like a really creepy kid. And he was like, well, what if I shoot you? Like, well, hold up. What? You just threatened to shoot a teacher? So I just like looked at him and I scooped my desk away and the whole class went silent. Like nobody said anything. We're all just staring at him. Like we were all just in shock. Like, did he just threaten to shoot a teacher? After like 10 seconds of it being like completely silent, he reached in his backpack.
This is the reason why I treat people the way that I do. And this is how a toxic friend changed my life. Let's set the scene. 5th grade, I had a best friend, not gonna name her. We were like this. We were partners for everything. Always sat next to each other. If the teacher said team up, she'd be like, I wanna be with Joe today. So we would team up. But if we were ever on a team and we were losing, she would blame me. If I got a question wrong, she would call me dumb. If I shared my snacks with her, she wouldn't share any of hers back with me. You guys know those Cosmo brownies with the sprinkles? I would force my mom to buy those just for her. And when I'd ask for a chip, she'd be like, never willing to share. We would get into fights a lot. And in turn, I started being mean. But up until that point, I was a pretty wild child. Pretty crazy. Hyper. This girl would make me feel stupid for getting questions wrong, for not being fast enough in PE, but then the next day would want to be my best friend. I felt like a failure a lot. If I wanted anything, I'd have to give it to her. And I was mean too. I didn't like the person I was around her. Until eventually in art class, I legitimately had an epiphany. She was copying my artwork. I was a pretty good artist. She knew that, so she was copying me.
Story time. So this was 2 years ago and I was at school and it was a normal day until the principal went on the speaker and said, we're allowed to go in your closets. So we went ahead and was like kind of asking the teacher what was going on and stuff. Now during this time I wasn't asking anything or saying anything because I knew during a lockdown you don't want to say anything. So if there is someone in the school, they won't find where you are. But I was still listening to them because I was curious like everyone else. So while everyone was asking the questions, one girl stood up and said, if you're not going to say what's going on, I'm going to get out of the closet. The teacher yelled at her and told her no. And the teacher yelled loud, so whoever was in the school obviously heard. So the door opened and everyone became silent.
This is why you should never friend people you don't know on Roblox. I met this guy on Roblox and his name was Jimmy X Bear. Asked if we could be friends on Roblox and I said sure. I wasn't sus of him until a week later when he'd asked me to join his game. And I said sure. So I joined his game. He started then telling me that I was going to get hacked and that I should stay off Roblox. I was completely confused. I didn't know what to say, so I just left the game. After a week or so, I went back on because of how scared I was, and I was logged out of my account. And now, I didn't know what to do. So I went to go log into my account. After 20 or so tries, I finally got back in. I looked to go in my Roblox chats and saw Jimmy X Bear. You won't believe what he said next.
Story time of how my stepmom got so jealous of me and my dad's bond that she plotted to kill me. So I never really liked my stepmom in the first place because she was a little controlling over my dad, and I just knew that she hated me and I really hated her too. But you know, my dad was in love and he seemed happy, so I didn't really say anything. And my dad would always take me to lunch on Saturdays and Sundays, and we'd have like a dad-daughter bonding day, I guess. And me and my dad were just super close, and every single weekend, me going to lunch with him would start an argument between them two because she said I was taking time away from them two. My dad really never chose sides, but I never really got involved in the relationship as much as I hated her because I just loved seeing my dad happy. Also, at this time, I was 15. This might sound just a little crazy and unbelievable, but I'm not sure who she was on the phone with. But while on the phone with somebody, she was talking about getting rid of me. Mind you, my mom had passed away when I was younger, and I really had no other family to go to. Now, this is where the story takes a turn for the worse and she tries to get rid of me. I'm running out of time looking for the crazy part 2. Part 2 of how my stepmom got so jealous of me and my dad's bond that she plotted to hang up the story. I didn't think she was that crazy. So all of a sudden, she started making me breakfast right when I get up. So every time she would make me breakfast, I'm not hungry. And she would get so mad. Like, so freaking mad. I'm not gonna get into all the little details, but comes to find out, she was putting rat poison in my food. She had set up cameras in my room. And I don't know what kind of sense this makes. I think she's just crazy, but she started to hide snakes in my room and claim it was my fault that the snakes were coming in my room. Yeah, doesn't really make any sense. Once I told my dad and my dad got out of his little in love stage with her, he finally stepped up and said something to her. And she admitted that she wanted me dead. He eventually called the cops, and to this day, she is in jail for attempted murder. Oh, did I forget to mention the day that he broke up with her, she tried to stab me in the throat.
So yesterday I was really bored, so I just decided that I would drive around my neighborhood. So I got in my car, I was warming it up, whatever, and I see my neighbor staring at me through their window. So I'm like, is this dude really about to say something? So I just ignore him. I'm like, do whatever you want to do, I don't care. And I pull out of my driveway and I drive off. 2 seconds later, I see my neighbor's car following me. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're just leaving the neighborhood. Maybe they're going to the store or something. Maybe they're not even following me. So I take a left, they take a left. I take another left, they take another left. To the point where I make a whole circle and they keep following me. So I did 2 more circles around the neighborhood, still were following me. Up until I pulled into my driveway and they sped off. I love having nosy neighbors.
This is why you should be careful working in food delivery. When the pandemic hit, I lost my job and signed up to work for a food delivery app. I was making good money and the tips were nice too. During the first few months of working, I never had any weird experiences or customers. For the most part, everything was fine. There were times when I was a little scared of dropping off the food because it was in sketchy neighborhoods or it was dark outside, but nothing ever happened. I started feeling confident in my position and I let my guard down. One night, I got a delivery request and the tip was bigger than the total order. When I looked at the details of how to drop it off, I realized why the tip was so big. The instructions asked if I could open the door and bring it inside of the house as they were bedbound and unable to walk to the door. I knew I shouldn't do it. It was super against company policy, but I had an aunt who was bedbound and it hit us off. When I opened the door of the house, I was hit with the most vile stench that's ever hit my nose. I looked around and called out to the customer. It was silent for a few seconds. Suddenly, someone croaked out, "I'm back here, come on down." The voice came from a bedroom down the hallway that was pitch black. As I walked towards the room, my stomach was turning. I entered the room and put the order down, but I didn't see anyone. When I turned around to leave, suddenly a man appeared in front of me. Part 2 of why you should be careful working in food delivery. This man was tall, wore glasses, and was balding. He was also fully functional from what I could tell. In this moment, I realized how badly I had messed up. I was cornered away from the doorway. He thanked me for dropping off his order. I politely replied, "You're welcome," and tried to step around him to leave. He took a step in the same direction at the same exact moment and asked me what I was up to the rest of the night. My heart was pounding out of my chest, but I quickly replied that I had another order to drop off and that they were waiting, so I had to go. However, he didn't move. Somehow, I mustered up enough courage to step towards him and say, "Excuse me," and I knew he was either going to let me go or shut it in